All right, guys, welcome back to another video. It's your man, Jay Will. In this review, we're going to go over some likes and dislikes of all these phones versus each other. And then I'm going to pretty much pick a winner at the end of this video. So let's start with design on all of these. I'm going to jump right in here. I don't want to take too much time from you, but let's start with design. So coming in the number 3 slot is the LG Stylo 4. Now the Stylo 4 does have the stylus pen, which actually is a nice feature added on, but overall hardware, this feels hollow and cheap compared to these phones. It is a nice big screen on here, coming in at 1080p, but it's still overall hardware feels different compared to these. It feels heavier, boxier, bulkier, and that's just kind of how it is at this point. The fingerprint reader is nice, but there's nothing special that screams premium compared to these phones right here. So while it's nice, it does come in last place. Next comes the Moto E5 Plus, which I think this is just a beautiful design. I think Motorola did a fantastic job with this phone right here. The colors are nice that it comes in. The screen is 6 inches, has that nice popping mineral blue color. I just love it. I love the way the fingerprint is designed in the back here with the Motorola logo inside. I love the camera module in the back. This does unfortunately have micro USB, and these two have Type-C. But this has something that neither one of these has, which is a 5,000 milliamp hour battery inside, and we'll talk about that later. But this is a more premium feeling design than this phone. I really like this 18:9 ratio with that 6-inch display. I think it really does well. And it's a 6-inch display at 720p, but it's really nice, trust me. Now coming in at number 1 is the Xiaomi Mi A2 with beautiful hardware. Did I scratch y'all? Beautiful hardware. It does have a rear-mounted fingerprint reader, and the camera module is over to the left there. This is a beautiful color as well. It does have that 6-inch display. It is actually the best hardware of all of these. It's the thinnest, has a thin profile. You get an aluminum body. It's got Type-C. It's really nice. They removed the headphone jack, but they can compensate with an IR blaster, which I think is pretty nice. This is the overall better package of all of these, and I rank this one number 1 for design. Now, features and options. These are stock Android phones, so the features and options are very slim over here. Whatever options come with stock Android, that's what you get. But on features and options here, the Stylo obviously is the Stylo, and this is the only advantage that this one has, is it actually has an actual pen. You can in fact take notes, but you would just have to use your finger for these phones over here, which isn't a bad thing. But the Stylo does get the jump on features and options, and that's probably the only jump that it has on it as far as features and options. Now when it comes to screens, this is probably gonna shock you. Probably not. But again, the Stylo 4 comes in last place because the screen just seems very dull compared to these two displays here. Now over video, you might think, oh Jay, they look the same, but trust me when I tell you in person, this is one of the better 720p displays that you will ever lay eyes on. Now when it came between these two for displays, it was tough, but I did give it to the Mi A2. It just pops a little bit more, and there's a little bit more detail in some things, but this is a great 720p display. So for that, I give the screen to the Mi A2. So far design goes to Mi A2 and screen goes to Mi A2. As far as the number 1 slot, as features and options, it's a tie between these two, and this one comes in first for that. Now performance is something that the Stylo 4 loses out on again in last place because it has 2 gigs of RAM. Now there are phones that have 2 gigs of RAM, but the Stylo 4, I know there's a 3 gig of RAM version, but I don't have that version, so I can't speak on that. But this phone does not perform as well as these two phones right here. Now granted, this does have the Snapdragon 660 and this has a Snapdragon 435, but this phone performs better than this phone, and this phone has 3 gigs of RAM, and I know that's what it is, but this phone has 4 gigs of RAM, and that's just the way it goes. So last place is the Stylo 4, and in second place the Moto E5 once again, and Mi A2 comes on our top because it just performs like a champ. In the 600 series, the 625 was my number 1 phone, but now the 636 came along, and now the 660. Now the 636, I have phones with that, and they don't perform as well as the 660, even though they're based on the 660 chassis, if you will. The Mi A2 takes the win once again. Now, software is going to come down to a personal preference, what you really prefer. So personally, the LG software is a software that skin, I like it. It's not bad. But I'm not going to take that over stock. Stock Android wins to me in most cases if it doesn't have a bunch of functional software, i.e. like the Note 8, you know, it's probably not going to win me over. But this is close to stock, but these are stock. And both of these, you know, again, this is personal preference, but I really do like the stock Android feel on these two. So it's kind of a toss up between these two, and then the Stylo 4 definitely comes in last with their skin. Now, one thing on features and options that I didn't point out, and I apologize for this, and it just came to my mind, are the Moto gestures over here. That definitely kicks it up a notch for me. And I guess I should probably rank those. Actually, I should put the Stylo 4 in last place for features and options too, because there are Moto gestures on here that just don't compete with, you know, they're better than the Stylo 4. So my bad. You probably think I hate the Stylo 4, but I really don't. But it popped in my mind, and I was like, oh snap, I forgot about my Moto gestures. Twist of the camera, chop, all the different features are there, and I use them. So yeah, man, Stylo 4 owners, sorry, yeah, you're gonna have to take the L on that one, because the Moto gestures are better than just having that S Pen or the stylus, because I can do those writing functions on either one of these. Anyway, let's fast forward back to battery. Now here's where the Moto E5 Plus takes the win by a long shot. While these two have great battery, they don't compete with this battery here. I mean, this is 3,000, this is 3,300, and this is 5,000. So obviously this is a win-win for battery. This is just a knockout. I can go 2 days with this for real with no problems. Both of these phones have great battery, and I will be giving you a battery test on this one soon. But these are both great, but they just can't compete with this phone right here. And then there's a lot of phones out there that cannot compete. And I've seen a lot of people in the comments saying, oh, this phone is better than that phone. Well, battery usage is always going to depend on what you're doing on your phone and the user. I could very well get 10 hours or more out of this phone right here, but I don't play games on my phone. I don't just sit on the phone all day. I actually have a life outside of YouTube. And so the most I've gotten on here is 8 hours and just over a day. And that is fantastic. So there you have it. Now, price is the last thing. Now, this phone, I paid $225 for it, because I wanted this color and I wanted the T-Mobile version. Now there's Boost, there's other carriers. The highest I've seen it is 250, no, 288 on Sprint, which is, you know, you'd be your own judge whether you think that's worth it. The highest I've seen this phone was 279, and I've seen this phone, I think some people are getting this free on a port-in, but let's not talk about the port-ins, because those are deals. The actual price of the phone, I think the lowest I've seen it is 180. Now, even though this phone comes in at the lowest price point, I still would not recommend it over either one of these phones. And again, please don't think that I hate is a strong word. Please don't think that I just dislike this phone, but I'm comparing it for what it is against the competition. This is what this phone is trying to compete against, and vice versa. They're all trying to compete against each other to get your money. So this phone comes in last as far as value to the customer, even though it costs the least of them all. Next, I rank this phone. This phone right here, while it is great, there is no unlocked version yet, but it's still priced kind of in the middle. And it's definitely a better purchase than the Stylo 4 for those that are going to ask me that. Yes, I recommend the Moto E5 Plus over the Stylo 4 for those that are going to ask that. So if I see that comment, that means you guys didn't watch the video through. Now, the best value to me is this phone right here, and this is obviously the clear winner of these phones right here, because this is an Android One device. It's got 8.1. It's probably more than likely going to get Pi. This is a stock Android phone, so updates are, you know, they might come later on, but this is guaranteed to get updates because it's an Android One device, which means Google is bringing the updates, and I appreciate that. So with that being said, the winner of this battle is the Xiaomi Mi A2. Now, I didn't touch on too much on cameras at all, but of all of these right here, the Mi A2 to me is a tough battle between this one and the Moto E5 Plus, those cameras. I've got a video up on that, so be sure to check that out. I'll try to remember to link it down below. But the Stylo 4 is definitely the one, obviously, that I like the least of all these phones. But I do like this phone. I'm going to keep it, you know. As of now, I'm keeping this phone. It's really good. But this is what the Stylo 4 is competing against. And this is where the Stylo 4 gets spanked hard. LG, you've got to step your game up in your default game, meaning you shouldn't have a 2 gig option for a phone like this. It should be at least 3 gigs. So with that being said, the winner is the Xiaomi Mi A2 from your man Jay Will. I'll see you guys in the next video. Which one do you like the best? If you have all 3 of these phones, be sure to comment. I know not a lot of people have all 3, but if you have 2 of these, whichever, if you have 1 of them, give your comment. I would love to hear what you have to say. So the winner for me is the Mi A2.